Cayman's restaurants have always been there for you. A place to get together with friends, to celebrate, to take a first date, or grab a meal between rugby and piano practice. And even though the tables are empty, some kitchens are still full, ready to feed you and your family while keeping you safe and making your meals as delicious as ever. They were there for you, now we can be there for them. While doors might be closed, kitchens are open for delivery. Let's eat.
You don't know who I am, but I know all about you. I've come to talk to you tonight about the things I've seen you do. I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold hard truth.
Okay, good evening, folks, and welcome to another segment of the Cold Hard Truth. I am your host, Sandy Hill. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know a lot of you are very, very super interested in this topic. We're just waiting for our special guest to join us. It's an important topic, and of course, everyone wants to know what's going to happen with pension. And I hope that you guys were listening to what was an historic sitting of the Legislative Assembly today, where basically they did it electronically, so persons were able to participate via Zoom. And this was to make sure that they kept their social distancing, and they were trying to get the business done. It was good to see. I caught some of Arden McLean's comments in which he indicated support for the pension amendment bill. They amended the traffic bill, the immigration transition bill, labor, national pensions, customs and border control. So we're going to go through some of those things tomorrow. This evening's show will be 100% dedicated to pensions. And I know a lot of you have questions about the pension situation. I've been getting a lot of calls today about traveling to Honduras. A lot of persons want to know if there's been a flight confirmed for that. We do not have any flight confirmation of that as yet. We do know that there is a flight for repatriation from Grand Cayman to the United States to Miami on May the 1st. And so if you have not been contacted by the respective emergency travel office, by all means, please contact Cayman Airways so that you can get booked for that flight and you can get yourself sorted out there. So I'm going to dispense with my usual greetings. I see everyone here. There's a number of you, my gosh, over 230 persons already tuned in 4 minutes into the show. Amazing. But I know why you're all here, because we want to get down to the business of talking pension. So we're going to be talking to Alice Ramos. Alice is with Saxon's Pension, and we're going to get a little bit of information here from Alice in a second about her pension experience. She has been the go-to person, I think, at Saxon for quite some time, and she's relatively familiar with the pensions law. So Alice will do her best to answer as many of your questions as possible, and I will do my best, if I know some of the answers as well, to answer your questions. If for some reason we're not able to answer your questions, then we are going to jot them down and get back to you with the answers at some point. So don't be afraid to ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question. You know, when you were in school, they always used to say that to you. And sometimes you'd wonder, actually, there is such a thing as a stupid question. And I think since we've been watching these prep briefings, we actually know that there is such a thing. So good evening, one. Good evening, all. Visual is messed up, but audio is great, says Raymond. Raymond, maybe do a little refresh on your end. I'm watching it over here on the other screen on Facebook. It actually looks pretty good. So maybe just refresh. Could be internet on your side as well. There's a lot that happens when you're doing these types of meetings or shows between my internet has to be decent, my upload speeds, your internet has to be decent, and in between, all sorts of garbage can happen. So sometimes you just want to do a little refresh of the stream and let's see how it's going. Angie is saying that she can't see me, so hopefully that will be rectified here shortly. So basically, let me make sure we're all on the same page. This is a special segment, there we go, of Seek Out Sandy. And this segment is all about pensions and nothing else. So any other questions you have, please hold them until tomorrow morning. We'll have an open mic, part of open mic segment in the morning, as well as we do have people in Miami, Caymanians who are stuck in Miami, who will be joining us on tomorrow's show as well to talk about some really important things to them, how they can try to get back home to the Cayman Islands. So lots of stuff going on this week. And of course, please do not forget that tomorrow we will have our first ever exercise segment of the show. So at 9 o'clock at the latter part of our show tomorrow, we're going to be boogieing down with Ricardo. He's a fitness guru and he's going to give us some tips, and we just want to get the blood moving and get going. So let's go ahead and not waste another minute. We're going to invite, Alice Ramos from Saxon. Alice, good evening and welcome to the program.
Hey, Sandy.
How are you?
I'm good. As good as I can be under the current situation.
Yes. Yeah. Crazy times for sure. And
yes.
There are a lot of things happening kind of all at once. In the Legislative Assembly today, they wanted to obviously get through the business of sorting out this whole pension thing, which has been in everyone's minds from day one. You have been in the pension business now for how long, Alice?
Just over 10 years, maybe 12, I think.
Yeah. And I've always found with you that if you don't know the answer, you're going to go away and get it and get back to people. So thank you so much for agreeing to join us this evening. We really appreciate that.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a lot of questions. I think the pension question was probably the sort of single most asked question of anything. Like everyone wants to know pension. And part of it, I know you don't want to get into the politics of pensions really, but I'm always concerned that people think of their pension fund as like a savings account and something that they can dip into. I mean, obviously this is the most extraordinary of events, right? Right. So this was very unanticipated and it's massive, like worldwide. So they're definitely, making some changes to allow people to get access to their pension. But do you kind of feel like anytime something happens to someone, like they have a family emergency, someone dies, the first thing they do is come to you and say, oh, can I get access to my pension fund under these circumstances?
Yes, for sure. Something that we have, been doing over the past forever is educational sessions with our clients. So the importance of that is teaching people of why you should contribute pensions, and it's not a savings. So it's not something like, you can go to your bank and withdraw funds from your account right away. The funds are invested, and there are many reasons as to why it's invested. It's a long-term investment. It's meant to serve as an income at retirement. I'm not sure about you, but I know when I'm at age 65, I don't plan or I don't want to be working. I want to actually enjoy my retirement, however that may look. So again, it's just about educating people. And I guess it's, we can view it from 2 points. One, you have some people that are living paycheck to paycheck. So they don't understand or probably don't put it on their priority list. But, in times like this, it's really important to actually have that nest egg, available at retirement when you actually don't have any savings available.
Right. And it's tricky because I think, again, people do think, I don't know if it's like a Caribbean mentality because we are, or Cayman Islands, we're fairly new to the pension scheme business. I do kind of get the sense that when you talk to people about pension, they're like, well, it's my money. I put it in. So if I go, I should be able to just take it out and that's that. But
Yeah.
that's not how a retirement fund works.
No, no. And I mean, yeah, in the Cayman Islands, pensions is still relatively new. It's only about 20 years old. Um, maybe what year? How do you even know the year? It's a little over 20 years old.
Yeah.
And you have people that, have been in the workforce and that are actually near retirement who worked half of their life and did not contribute to a pensions. When it was first introduced in the 90s, there was a lot of pushback. And I think a lot of our, population is still against pensions and not really understanding, how it works. And again, just the importance of having pensions available when you are ready to retire.
Yeah, for sure. I've looked at like 401k programs and stuff in the US, and one of the things that they always said was a 401, a retirement fund, is something that basically you need to set it and forget it. Like literally, yes, the money's coming out of your paycheck, but don't think of it as though you actually have that money. It is your retirement nest egg, and it only really works for you in the long term when you leave it, because the markets where your money is invested kind of go up and down and all over the place, over 5, 10, 15 years, but over a 30 or 40 year work career life, that's how a pension and how a 401k, those types of programs are supposed to work in your best interests.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's get into some of the questions. The very first question, which we have, is regarding the website. Now, I did notice, and I think actually it might have been Raymond that brought this to my attention, that he was trying to access the website recently and your website is unavailable. So just let us know why that is and what's going on in particular with your website.
Yeah, sure. So we are currently making upgrades to our portal. It's just unfortunate that, we've been forced on curfew. It's not just in the Cayman Islands, it's globally. So our developers have had limitations, which is why we've had to push back our launch date. So we are set to relaunch our portal by May 1. So just to be transparent, it's not that our website is unavailable because of the current amendments. This is something that has been in the making. So if you actually had access to our portal, you have noticed this before we went on curfew. And just so you know, and so our members know, that you can contact us and we're giving you your balance, we're emailing statements. So again, we are there for our clients. It's just that we provide a portal as a benefit to our members, so they can, basically help themselves versus contacting us and having to pick up the phone. In this day and age, everyone is about self-service and getting information out of the snap of a finger. And that's the reason why we've also decided to revamp our portal. So it's available both to members as well as employers. And I think that, members will definitely like the new branding and the new upgrades that we've made.
Right. Okay. So nothing untoward's going on. This is something that's been in the works for quite some time.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Jennifer's asking about car insurance. Don't know what that has to do with pension. So Jennifer, hang on to that question until tomorrow. Katrina wants to know, are unemployed persons who previously held a private pension policy eligible to withdraw? So based on what, and again, I want to make it very clear before we get started, legally, the bill amendments, they were debating it today, and I think they're all in agreement that it's going to be signed off on, but it's not law yet. So technically, until that happens, you can't be sending Alice an application form and saying, hey, start my application date by 7 days, processing date starting from today, because they have to wait until the actual law is amended. So this question then is one where if you're currently unemployed, but you have worked in the past and you've got a pension plan already in existence that you may not have necessarily been contributing to because you've been unemployed, will you be able to access that pension fund?
Right. And Sandra, thanks for pointing out, that the amendments is still in bill form. It's still being discussed at the LA. When I tuned in I believe Chris was still talking about the pensions bill. And it is possible that changes can still be made by the committee after today. So the information that I'm providing is just based on the bill and my understanding. In terms of Katrina's question, I can tell you who is currently not eligible, and that would be civil servants.
Yeah.
And anyone that is currently retired and receiving benefits,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone who left the island before February 1. I think her question might be more in regards to, what is an active account. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question right now. But what I can say is, once the bill has been passed and the law has been amended and gazetted, we will actually be able to provide more information on who is eligible, what the requirements are, and how someone can make an application.
Right. What I want to say about Katrina's question is my understanding of it, and again, this is just my understanding of it, so take it with a grain of salt, is that anyone who has a pension fund that does not meet those criteria where they're disqualified. So again, civil servants are not eligible. They're part of a completely separate pension scheme. The Premier spent some time in the Legislative Assembly today explaining why it's important for people to understand why civil servants cannot have access to their pension fund. Their pension fund fundamentally is very, very different than a private sector pension fund, first of all. It's non-contributory, so the government workers do not actually contribute to their pension fund. Government contributes 100%. And so I think the way that they have been able to manage it, it's a very sort of precarious situation in the sense that there used to be an old pension scheme that was a lot more beneficial to the government workers. And again, it was 100% non-contributory, where people at retirement would turn around, get pension, be getting thousands of dollars, sometimes almost equivalent of their salary, and then turn around and go back and work in the civil service. So they've made some changes over the years where it's not quite as beneficial as that in terms of the payout. But my understanding is you get a certain percentage of a payout, and then over the longer term, you then draw down on the balance, like a certain monthly amount, depending on, again, when you came into the civil service and what plan technically you were under. So civil service, I think plan is a little bit more complex in terms of how it works, because there's a number of factors of when you join the service and so on that make you eligible for different things. And then the other real reason is government doesn't have unlimited funds, because government has put that money in there. And there are civil servants who are alive right now who've been around a really long time. They're already drawing down on their pensions. So they need to be very, very careful of how they tap into that, if ever. And I don't think that they ever will, because they simply do not have the money to allow that to happen. And he said, listen, right now, we know that there's job security for civil servants at this time. But keep in mind that government has no income coming in. An entire sector has been wiped out, tourism. Financial services will be impacted by the overall fallout of everything else that's going on with COVID-19. So government doesn't have a bank account that is limitless. They can't print their own money. So he's saying, listen, even civil servants need to be very, very cautious about how they're planning their future and how they're thinking about things, because in 6 months to a year, we're still dealing with COVID-19. It may mean that they have to give civil servants a pay cut, or it may mean that some civil servants will end up losing their jobs. And so I always want to present a very real perspective on this program of what people can expect, because, I think moving forward in life, you have to know what your true position is to be able to make educated decisions. So another great question and sort of comment that we have been, talking about for quite some time is the value of your pension fund, because obviously the markets around the world have crashed. A lot of people were saying, oh God, well, government took so long to finally make a decision and to finally do something. I don't think that that would have mattered, because the markets crashed the second the US finally said, coronavirus is here. You couldn't have moved that fast really to do anything about it. But what sort of, I don't know if you can answer this, Alice, but what sort of fluctuations can people probably expect to see from like their last pension statement until now?
It would depend on the portfolio that you are in. One of the most conservative portfolios that we have actually made a profit. So it just depends. Sorry, I'm just grabbing my information right here.
Sure.
I figured that this question was going to come up.
Yes.
For the financial year to date, uh, I would say that maybe our more aggressive portfolios probably had a loss between 2 and 6%.
Okay.
But that's up to February. We haven't received March valuations just yet. So something that we value at our plan, Silver Thatch Pensions, is our life cycle. So we basically invest funds based on certain demographics, and the principle behind it is the younger you are, the more risk you can take. And obviously, as you are nearing retirement, you want to be more conservative with your investments. And in cases like this is, one of the things that the trustees, are very cautious of. They're constantly in communication with our investment managers, constantly monitoring how the plan is performing. And that's something that our plan has designed for our members. But something that I also want to point out is that we know that a lot of people are concerned about how the market is performing. But I want to highlight that we are also regulated by the national pensions law and regulations, which means that it's actually the government who sets out how or provide limitations on how the plans are to invest the funds. So even though the law changed in 2016, we still haven't received revised investment regulations. So right now, basically, our hands are tied if we are at our cap, because we have to maintain certain. Sorry, I just want to grab that information for you. We have to maintain certain asset allocations, and if we break those bands, then we will be in non-compliance with the pensions law. So I just wanted to highlight that we're trying to do everything that we can to prevent or mitigate any losses, but we are guided by the national pensions law as well as regulations.
Okay. All right. I think there were a few questions kind of related to that. One person was asking to kind of explain the lesser balance, so that should hopefully answer the same question. Romika says, due to the virus and losses in the market, down what percentage? Sorry, we just asked that as well. So hopefully, people appreciate that. Yes, your value is definitely impacted by what's happening around the world in the financial market. So yeah. Someone wants to know, can you access the emergency pension fund if you're still employed at a restaurant? So yes is the short answer. The premier said, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that it was getting a little bit too complicated for them to put provisions in place where they were saying, okay, only people who are unemployed can get access to their pension fund. So they have basically opened it up again if you don't fall into one of those exempted categories. So basically you're exempted if you're a civil servant, and if you have already, as a retiree or someone who's taken early retirement or whatever, you've already started drawing down on your pension fund, because you're basically tied into whatever agreement with the pension company already to do that. So I think that should answer the question. And again, I want to caution people. Sorry, Anna, I actually took off for a little Ask Sandy thing so you can actually see Alice's name properly, because I realized it was hiding her name. So this is Alice Ramos from Saxon that is joining us this evening. So I want to caution people, if your financial situation hasn't changed and you're still working, it's probably not a good idea to tap into your pension fund right now, especially if you don't need it. So I want people to think very, very carefully about whether or not this is something that they need. I mean, I hear civil servants asking me, before they join the civil service, they were in the private sector, and so they may have a small fund somewhere, and they're like, oh, can I go and have access to that? And I'm thinking, why would you want to? You still have your job. You've been, getting a full salary. Like, nothing for you technically has changed. And, I think a lot of people are seeing this as free money that they can now access and do whatever with. And that's an
Yeah.
unfortunate, I think, way of thinking.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. For those who need it, we understand. But for those who is still earning a full paycheck, their household hasn't been affected. I would definitely caution against withdrawing your pensions at the moment. Again, this is a retirement fund. It's supposed to serve as an income at retirement. It's not supposed to be. It's not. We're not a bank. It's not supposed to be used as your emergency savings. But again, just we do understand, what's currently happening. Tourism industry is not operating at the moment. We're on curfew. A number of companies are closed, or
And
there are
more closing
layoffs.
every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So for sure.
Samantha says that she emailed and got all of the information regarding her balance. They're very good with their customer service. So kudos to you and your team at Saxon.
Yeah, I just
Leroy,
want to add that our team is working until midnight. We're trying to answer questions same day. So we're working very hard at getting the information to our customers.
yeah, because I know I sent some stuff through and you answered me after hours. So I knew that you were you were on it. Leroy says that's why we should get our pensions because the stock market is still going to keep crashing. Now, what about people who think that, who may not need it, but they're thinking if I don't get it now and say I need it in 4 months, the value will have decreased even further in 4 months?
I think it's a personal choice. Again, if you don't need to access your pensions, don't. Yes, units are valued at much lower at the moment. However, markets go up and down. This is a long-term investment. If you have another 30 to 40 years until retirement, history has shown that you will remake any losses and more. Something that I would say, if you were a member since inception and if you went through the 2008 financial crisis, you would have seen how that played out, and that yes, some members did have a loss at that point, but they've since remade that money. So it's just this is a short term view right now. Markets might be down for the next month, 2 months, who knows? Maybe things will get better. The infection rate might decrease, and then the market will actually bounce back. So our view is always looking on the long term and not the short term.
Right. Okay, Jordana is joining us this evening as well. And Jordana says pensions, or person, sorry, who've drawn down on their pension previously for the purchase of land
Mhm.
or a house, will they be eligible to withdraw?
Again, I mentioned who is not eligible, as
Yeah.
my understanding is that they will be eligible. And also, just to add to Jordana's question, is that for those who did make a withdrawal under the property withdrawal section 52 of the National Pensions Law, they will not be required to repay that 1% during the 6-month pension holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, I did hear the premier say that as well today. So,
Yeah.
Jordana, as you know, if you had borrowed money to purchase a home or to purchase land, you were paying a little extra back at a rate of 1%. So there is a 6-month suspension period where no one has to contribute to their pension fund. Now, can I ask you about that suspension period, Alice? Again, I know
Mhm.
that obviously the law hasn't yet been finalized, but this was something that they did during Hurricane Ivan. So I think that they're doing something similar. At the time, it was the case that you had to be a company in good standing in order
Yes.
to take advantage of that. I haven't necessarily heard that this time. Are you hearing any talks of that being the current position?
Yeah, so my understanding is that it will be automatic. There will not be an opt-in option, so to
Okay.
participate in the pension holiday. And things are much different compared to
Right.
2010. In 2010, businesses were still open. We were able
Right.
to obtain wet signatures. Um, we were actually acting at full capacity. Now companies are working remotely, so I think it's just going to be an administrative nightmare, which is why they're suggesting an automatic pensions holiday. However, for those companies who are delinquent, they will still be responsible for making those outstanding payments plus interest.
Right. So they
So
can't
even though,
stop the delinquent payments.
right, that's correct, yeah.
Mhm.
So, just to recap for those who aren't aware, the pensions holiday, the government is proposing to um, retrospectively apply it from April 1 for 6 months ending in September. The end of September is my understanding. Again, that's all in bill
And
format
form.
at the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's walk through. Olivia's asking if the pension money can go directly to her bank account. So let's walk
Yeah.
through in theory how this will work. So you
Yes.
fill out an application form. Do you guys have these forms ready and go as soon as the bill is passed, or?
Yes. Yes. We have built our form. We're just waiting for the the law to pass or the bill to pass, just to ensure that we have all of the requirements listed. Um, as well as we have the okay from the Director of Labor and Pensions. So how it'll work is all of the plans are aiming to have it in electronic form. Obviously we're closed and under curfew.
Yeah.
We want to limit any in-person contact. So for Silver Thatch Pensions, we will post our form on our website. It's pretty easy to navigate, and it'll be under member forms. You'll be able to submit all documents online. Now, I must caution that something that is in the proposed bill is that IDs will have to be notarized.
But they are, I know one of the things they're working on, Alice, as someone who is a notary, they are working on
Yes.
trying to allow us to do notarization of documents electronically. So I don't
Yes.
know the
Yes.
logistics of exactly how that would work yet, but
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's gonna work.
So I just want to highlight that just because I think it might be a bit difficult, especially for those people who aren't computer savvy. So, sorry, and in terms of payments, we're not processing checks at the moment. We are processing payments through direct deposit or wire transfer.
Okay.
So yes, we will be doing direct deposit. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right, good stuff. Let me just 1 second here. I see someone trying to call me. They must have forgotten that it's showtime. Okay, so let's go back through some of your questions, folks. So Olivia, I think that takes care of your question. Carla wants to know email address to send you guys information or contact you for more information.
Yeah, sure. It's support@silverthatch.org.ky.
Okay, let me just
And
pull
if that's too much, then you can just Google Silver Thatch, go to our webpage, and you'll be able to view our contact information. So something that they can also do is just send us a WhatsApp, 943-7770. We are encouraging people to call us just because of the amount of emails we've been receiving since Monday's announcement. And you can also just request a call back. So regular hours is 8:30 to 5. And it's super easy. We ask you some security questions and you'll be able to receive or obtain
Let me
information.
just get that email address. It's support@silverthatch.
.org.ky.
Okay. I'm going to just put this up on our screen so that everybody can grab that throughout the rest of the program. All right, folks. So there you go. You've got a WhatsApp number and a email address as well. Venetia wants to know, what if an employer did not pay an employee pension for up to 2 years? Will they be eligible to withdraw as soon as the law is amended?
Right. So if they are delinquent, that means that their their balance will be much less than it should be. That won't prevent them under the current bill. But I would highly recommend following up with her employer as well as contact. And then contact us. Maybe we can assist her with contacting her employer or assisting her with how that type of situation should be handled.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. We're actually going to have, I don't know when Cindy will come on, but there are a number of persons who have contacted us about employers who've not been paying into their pension fund. And this is why it's really, really important for people to ensure that your employer is paying into your pension fund. And if they're not, that it's reported immediately. It's not the kind of thing that you want to sit on for 2 years and
Right.
do nothing about, because we
Right.
couldn't
I mean,
COVID-19.
for sure, and that's something that we always recommend. We send quarterly statements in the mail. We have our portal, which you can view monthly statements. Our statements isn't there just to view your balance. It's also there to your employer is submitting contributions on your behalf. It is required by law to make monthly contributions. So I think people really just need to pay more attention. Unfortunately, we've issued statements. We have over 22,000 members, and we receive quite a lot back. And it could be people aren't clearing their postal box, and people aren't aware that we actually have monthly statements available. So it's just about keeping track of their financials.
Right. Okay. Good stuff. All right. Let's see a few more questions here. Someone is asking about the email address. So it would be silverthatch.org.ky. And then that's the website. Sorry. Someone asked for the website. And then the email address is support at the website, basically. So that's
Correct.
going on your screen. I'm trying to do just questions tonight as opposed to any comments that you may have. So if you see me.
So Sandra, just one thing. I know that we're sharing our contact information. Like I said, we've received a lot of traffic since Monday. So something that I want to stress is that the bill has not been passed. It's currently being discussed. Then it needs to go to the committee. Then it needs to be gazetted, and then we'll have a commencement date. So until that actually comes into effect, we do not have a form available for members to complete. And that's one of the number one questions that we're receiving is how do I apply for the emergency withdrawal? It's not available. It has not been passed. So if you're contacting us about a form, the best thing to do is just visit our website, I would say within the next week. Again, that's silverthatch.org.ky, and you'll be able to find the application under member forms. If you would like to obtain your balance, please feel free to contact us during our regular business hours. So just want to stress that for those who are preparing to contact us for the form.
Right. Just a quick question. Someone sent a WhatsApp message for as a query about the pension balance. So since the March statement isn't out as yet, when do you anticipate those being out? Because I guess that's what people would be drawing down on, what's available as of March.
It actually depends. So typically we process applications based on the month that it's received, and it's provided or is given that value. So pensions is valued monthly. So for instance, if something is received in May, it'll be valued for May's trade. So in terms of March's valuations, that should be available, and statements should be available, I would say, by May 15th.
Okay. All right. So May 15th for
Yes.
March.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So let me tell this person May 15th. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Very good. We got questions coming in from all over. I'm just trying to give our WhatsApp people the opportunity. So Cavell, I think this question has been answered before. It's more of a comment than a question. So hopefully you caught that comment about how.
But something that I would like to mention, Sandy, about statements. I don't think people really review their statements in detail. So we have a section, since you've joined the plan, it actually provides the dollar amount that you've paid in, so your mandatory contributions, as well as your voluntary contributions, and how the plan has performed, like how much money you've gained, or if you did experience any losses, and then your total balance. So it breaks it down on the dollar amount that you've actually put in the value that it is as of that period. So we always hear this, all I do is lose money, but it's apparent that they don't. So I would just really one, encourage employers to contact us so we could actually set up training sessions or educational sessions with our members, so we can one, go through the pensions law, two, how to read statements, and then just educate them on how our plan actually invests funds.
Okay. So Christina wants to know that if you've been paying pension for 2 years, are you qualified to be eligible? So the short answer, Christina, is there is no time limit in terms of how long you've been paying into pension funds. You should be. Carrie, that question has already been answered, so I invite you to rewatch the show. It was asked earlier. Can it be payable by check? No, is the short answer. Priscilla, it's going to go directly into your account because again, there's no one at their offices. Everyone is trying to work remotely in keeping with the stay-at-home provisions. So they don't want you trying to contact them physically like that. So direct deposit. And if people don't have a bank account to do direct deposit?
We will, I guess,
check.
handle that hurdle. Yes. Obviously
Mail or
we
something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the post office is closed at the moment, but we will definitely work out something.
And there are people who are overseas, and the premier said that basically anyone who left, I think it's as of February, was it February the 1st?
Yes.
They would be eligible to participate in this. So if you just left because of the COVID-19 situation, and so you return to Canada, Jamaica, wherever, you could contact your office as well and
Yes.
take advantage of this.
Yes.
How would you be able to apply for the pension? So Alina, you need to contact your respective pension administrator, whoever that company is. We're sharing the information here with Silver Thatch because Alice is with Silver Thatch, and they will have the application forms ready once the actual bill is signed into law and their management has signed off on the forms, and the pension office and all that has signed off on their forms as well. What if someone just got back on island, but before they left, they were working with government? Can they get their pension? Lynette, the short answer is no, if you're trying to get access to a government pension. So again, we said it before, but government pension, which is public service pension. And for those of you who want more information on that, that's a whole separate entity. So the Public Service Pension Board, you can contact. And we did send them, ironically, a question on, I think it was yesterday, the day before, for someone, let me just pull this up, who was inquiring about what statutory bodies form part of the public service pension. So some of them are, and some of them I think are not. They may have like a private sector pension option. So we did share that on the morning show, and I'll try to get that again. I'm actually going to take a screenshot of it and put it up. But their website is pspb.ky. But again, you're not eligible if you're talking about your public service pension fund with the Cayman Islands government. So I hope, Lynette, that answers your question. Marietta says, Sandy, my Silver Thatch pension is not active anymore, and my CNB pension plan. Okay. If I want to transfer it to chamber pension during this time, is it possible? So at least I can withdraw that one time.
I can't answer that.
This question about having multiple.
Yeah. So they want to consolidate.
Yeah.
So something that might be a challenge is the receiving plan needs to sign off on a form just to confirm that the person is actually a member and that they're willing to accept the funds. I'm not sure if they're are currently able to do that. So I would say to contact your current provider, but just just a heads up that it can take up to 60 days to process a transfer.
So it might be in your best interest to simply, if you have 2 or 3 pension funds, simply go to each pension fund, and if you're going to withdraw money from each, do it that way, as opposed to trying to consolidate them all and then later on withdraw.
Well, the law is only allowing for a one-time withdrawal. And that's from one provider. It's not from several different providers.
Okay.
Or sorry, I said law, I mean bill.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that you will only be able to withdraw from one pension fund.
Okay, that's a good question, actually, because I think quite a few people were asking that, and I personally was not aware that that was the case. So that's what's being proposed.
Yes.
Right, so from one pension fund. So basically, Marietta, you're going to want to pick the one that has, I guess, the most money in it, if that's what you're intending to do.
I guess it depends, yeah.
Yeah. So Leroy, are pensions being treated? Okay, Leroy, that's a comment. That's not quite how it works. But again, Saxon offers, Silver Thatch, offers educational programs where you can go and learn a little bit more about how pension plans work and how your money is invested and why it's invested in perhaps certain types of funds and so on. Charles wants to know, does the plan have a monthly or quarterly NAV?
We have a monthly NAV.
Okay.
All plans have a monthly NAV.
Okay. All right. And for people who don't know what NAV stands for?
Net asset value.
Thank you very much. Marco says yes. And also you'll be waived from paying one. Okay. I think he was responding to somebody else. Joanne, I think I'm not really sure that that's a question. I think that was kind of answered anyway already. Samoon, can you have private before you become civil servant? And can you get your private pension fund? The short answer is yes. So there are many people who've worked in both private and public sector. So if you worked in the private sector for 10 years and you have that fund available and you want to, to dip into that at this time, there would be nothing stopping you from accessing that because it's fun.
Actually, Sandy, I'm not sure if, sorry, I just received some guidance on that earlier. So just one moment.
Okay.
My understanding is that if you are a civil servant, you will not be able to access your private pension plan. If my understanding, sorry, I will ask you to get back. I'm going to get back to you in 1 second.
Okay.
If you can go ahead with the next question.
Yeah. So let's clarify that. Because I thought it was by the fund and not necessarily the person that they were trying to define. But let's find out. Carla says that's the one I emailed today as well and got the bounce back message. I will be patient until they get back to me. So are you aware of anyone having any email issues emailing you at your email address, support@silverthatch.org.ky?
No, sorry. What's the complaint?
Saying that the email bounced back, and I was just wondering if you'd heard any concerns.
No, I can tell you right now, I'm pretty sure that we've been receiving emails as we've been speaking.
Okay. All right, Carla, just double check that maybe.
Perhaps the person doesn't have the right email address. I will test that as well.
Okay. Sorry, Mary wants to know about the 45-day processing time. So basically 7 days to consider your application. The pension company doesn't have to, this isn't an automatic thing. So there could be something that the pension company says no to. Like, I don't know what that would be exactly.
Right. So we have to liquidate. So when you submit a request, you basically we need to you're cashing out, and all funds are invested, and we invest in different funds, which is valued differently. So some funds are valued daily, some are weekly, and some within 30 to 45 days. So that's why it takes a certain amount of time. It's not something that we can quickly do and liquidate, within an hour or within a day. And like I said, we receive or we value our funds monthly. So it's not something that we do on a daily basis. So it does take some time. In regards to the 45 days, I can't quite comment just yet because we, as pension providers, are requesting to be able to process that within 45 days from the month. So, for example, if anything's received in May, it should be valued at May's trade, which will be valued from May 31. So 45 days from May 31. Maybe that's a bit too complicated to discuss at the moment. So we are just wait until the bill is passed. Amendments can still be made. So we don't have that information for you at the moment.
Okay. So again, this, I guess, thinking that you can just say to the pension company, I want my money and I want it now. It's not likely to happen.
No.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Just how it works. I think again, people are kind of confused and thinking, well, my pension money is just sitting in an account somewhere.
Right. So just to go back to what I mentioned earlier about the regulations, basically forcing us to be invested in certain allocations at all time. So we have to be invested in certain things and a certain amount of equities, a certain amount of fixed income and in cash. So the plans don't actually have access to a large amount of cash. So we have to liquidate our investments, and that does take time. In terms of the size of our fund, which is currently over 650 million, we don't have the cash available at the moment. So some of the things that would allow us to have some cash is monthly contributions, and that's going to decrease if employers decide to participate in that, as well as under the current bill, if everyone, and there are only certain limitations in there, that would mean that we would need a large amount of cash on hand if people do decide to withdraw their funds. So in short, it takes time to liquidate.
Okay, so Jim wants to know, am I right in thinking that the maximum pension you can get here is $12,000 per year? I'm not sure that that's a question relevant.
I think he's talking about retirement income. So
right. So that's not really what we're dealing with here, Jim. We're trying to stick with the pension related questions to the changes that are coming right now, which is basically allowing people to utilize their pension funds in an emergency situation during this whole COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know what Orville is going on about something AD, and okay, that doesn't seem relevant to pensions. So if you guys could keep the chatter down a little bit so that I can really see where the questions are. Okay, I guess that was a comment. Mandatory pension contributions, yes, being suspended for 6 months. Joy, I don't know what that is. Kayleen, I think, is referring to someone else. Okay, what about if your pension is under $5,000? Do you still have to wait the 45 days?
It doesn't matter. It's the processing time.
It's the processing
time. Any type of redemption.
Right. Okay. Jojo says, is the pension bill approved? No, Jojo, they're still working on it. Norman is saying that he lost 7.5%, which he's considering excessive. Is that considered an excessive loss?
Again, it's everyone's risk is different. He looks like a young person, so he will have time to recoup any losses that may have occurred. And again, I don't know if he's a part of our plan. I would have to review his account, so I can't answer a general question like that.
Okay, Kadisha wants to know what will the application form look like, I think? Like, what are the requirements to be able to access the pension?
Right now, again, the requirement that I'm aware of is that the member will need to provide a notarized ID. That's one of the main requirements, and obviously confirm certain things. Are they a public servant? And their bank account details. Again, I can't quite say. It just depends. Right now, we do have a form drafted, but we're just waiting on the law to come into effect to be able to answer what the requirements will be.
Okay, so Junette, to get your balance, simply contact your pension administrator. We've answered that. Natalie says it's under construction. So Natalie, you may have joined the program a little bit late. So Alice did explain that they had been working on the website prior to all of this. So the member section is currently unavailable, but you can email the email address that you see scrolling on the screen, or WhatsApp them at that 943-7770 number, and they'll be happy to email you your latest monthly statement.
And Sandra, just to get back to that person who inquired about our email, it is working fine.
Yes. Okay, good. All right. Andros345, the website is the same last bit of the email handle. So it's silverthatch.org.ky. Eduardo, don't know what that comment is about. No one wants to retire in Cayman. Trust me. All right. Orville, what's up with Silver Thatch? Well, what do you mean, what's up, Jojo? They're here answering your questions. The only pension company that's doing it right now. So thank you to Silver Thatch. Good night, Ruchi. And you have old pension, can you still get it? Erica, I'm not sure if that's you said, what if you work for the service and you have old pension? Can you still get it? So there is a question that Alice is waiting on an answer about whether or not, as a civil servant, if you have a private sector pension fund, if you can access it or not. Alaric gives a definition of what pension holiday means, which is in the proposed bill. So you guys can have a read of that. Priscilla says you will gain it all back. Very true. That's the whole point here. Jojo, the website is slated to be back up by the 1st. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So Joanne is asking about retirement. You'll have money there. Don't worry. I think we explained that earlier. Jerian says, what if you're working for a company but no longer employed with them? You are now employed with another company but with a different pension provider. Are you qualified? So I think yes is the short answer. But it appears that based on what Alice said, which I didn't actually know, is that you may only be able to withdraw from one pension fund. So probably the older one that has more money in it is where you will want to be withdrawing your funds from.
I think it just depends on the person's situation. So even though, there are a few, in terms of the lump sum payment, I think there are a few options. Okay. Again, I would just base it on your needs. So if you only need X amount of dollars, then only withdraw X amount of dollars. Don't withdraw the maximum. It's just, again, if you don't need to access your pensions, don't touch your pensions. It's a long-term investment. It's supposed to serve you as a income at retirement.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jesse says hi.
Hey.
Shannon says, is withdrawal only for persons who have lost jobs? Shannon, the short answer is no. Is there a time limit to withdraw? This is a good question. And is the $10,000 limit in US or CI dollars?
The $10,000 limit is in CI dollars. Mm-hmm. And there is a time limit. I believe that section of the law will expire by November 30th. Mm-hmm. So the Premier did mention today, don't all rush at once. Again, if you don't need the funds, don't make an application.
Right. So you've got some time, folks. Is there a limit of stock loss? I don't think that can be answered. I don't know.
Well, we have no control over returns, right? And also, again, just going back to the regulations.
Mm-hmm. Is the pension approved yet, or when we can get the right information? So Marvin, we've been saying that over and over again. We're dealing with the bill. They were in the Legislative Assembly today having the necessary debates to pass it. So it has not yet been passed. So just hang tight. We're talking about what is being proposed in the bill and what is coming down the pipeline. So far, it seems that the opposition has given their full support of the initiatives that the government has undertaken. So we don't anticipate any changes really, but until it actually happens, because it does go into a committee stage and so on. And I know they are working very, very hard around the clock, Legislative Assembly members, to get this passed as quickly as possible. So I think that you're just going to have to hang tight until that happens. What does she think will possibly be required to access your pension if the bill is made into law? Application form, we just said it. ID, notarized ID, and some basic information. Okay, Norman's going on about his 7.5% again. I felt like I read that already, Norman. Are some of these duplicating? I feel like some of these are duplicating. Joy, no, everyone besides retired persons and government workers, more or less. Anna says, I'm relatively new to the island. I have a 9-month grace period to contribute to my pension, which ends next month. Meanwhile, contributions are suspended. How do I proceed? Do I make an application anyway? I don't want to be penalized for not taking any action if I have to. But at the same time, money is tight and I'd like to take advantage of the government bill. So in other words, she hasn't yet started contributing to a pension fund. She's not even applied for one because she's still within her first 9 months. Should she set up a pension fund, although a pension holiday is coming into effect for 6 months?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. We are encouraging members to continue making contributions. they will be considered as voluntary, and there are many benefits of making voluntary contributions. So just a quick thing, the current contribution rate, which is 5% of your salary, is just not enough or adequate to sustain you at retirement. So people really should be making a higher contribution. In addition, voluntary contributions can be redeemed under additional options under the pensions law that was amended in 2016. So before it was only accessible at retirement, but now you can access it for education, housing, unemployment, as well as ill health. So it's much easier to access your voluntary contributions. And again, you just, you want to continue, saving and putting away and increasing your pension fund.
I think her question, though, Alice, is if she hasn't, because she's been in this 9-month initial hiatus, if she intends to take advantage of the 6-month break and not contribute to her pension, should she still apply and even set up a pension fund, or does she wait until the end of the 6 months?
Yeah. So my answer is yes, she should. She should still enroll. If she would like to make contributions, they would be considered as voluntary.
Right.
And just going over the benefits that I just mentioned.
Right. So Priscilla is wondering, if you withdraw from your pensions funds now under this amendment for COVID-19, would you be able to withdraw later on for a mortgage? Like if you wanted to take advantage of that as well?
I don't think people will be penalized for withdrawing their funds. But if you do decide to withdraw for a mortgage later on, you will be depleting your pensions.
So keep that in mind. You're not going to have as much. If you take out 10 grand now, that's 10 grand less for later. Also wants to know, is this just for sense and pack? So a lot of the questions are general Q&A.
Yes.
Also in terms of what is proposed for the bill. How do we pay pension, every week or every month? Pension payments. Right.
It's due monthly, but I believe it depends on payroll. So, payroll is ran twice, then you will have deductions from your salary twice. So pensions are deducted from your whole salary. So it just depends on how often payroll is ran.
Right. What does she think will possibly be required to access your pension? Okay, I think we've covered that already. So Priscilla says that she's with Brit-K and she's changed her risk level from medium to conservative. Can a person change their risk level? Can they tell you?
So if a member has voluntary contributions, they can definitely contact us to adjust their portfolios. And if they're in a more aggressive portfolio and they want to move to a more conservative portfolio, that is possible.
Okay, so
Craig,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Craig is asking if Cayman Airways. Craig, I'm actually going to post that here in a minute. And I can tell you that Cayman Airways is Water Authority. I don't think Cayman Airways is, but I'm going to post
Craig,
the list.
And in addition, we're also waiting from guidance from the Department of Labor and Pensions on what is a statutory body as well as government entity.
Okay.
So that information will be posted on our website as well.
Right. So Bruce wants to know, can you withdraw if you are being paid out, but your spouse is not being paid out? No, I would think not. Like you can't withdraw, but your spouse could.
Yes. It's on the individual. It's on the individual, so not the couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, the 2 pension provider question, we're going to get firmed up response for that.
My understanding is no, you can only withdraw from one.
Withdraw from one. Okay. Okay, Kidisha, I don't know why your questions are being repeated, but we're coming now to the end of the show. So I'm just trying to see if there's any chamber also in effect. I mean, you need to contact your individual provider, but these changes across the board will impact everyone. And we've answered this well, it's CI dollars. Where can we find a notary? Well, notaries are actually listed online. There is a list of current notaries. What they're trying to do is amend the notary bill so that a notary can remotely, like through, Zoom or Skype or whatever, notarize your documents. Because again, you will find probably no notaries that are willing to have droves of people coming into their space to notarize documents. I don't know what that message is about. Orville. Okay, so Kadisha, your question's coming like 50 times. Let me just do a couple more questions and then we got to wrap it up. So let's see some people who've not asked questions before. Yes, Juanita, you can take out whatever's there, even if it's not a whole lot. Nellie, we've answered that question already. So Leanne is asking about people who wish to return. Is there a clause that is returning after a year or within a year if you access your pension fund? No, that's not relevant here. Is there a point or a threshold? That's a market question. Any sort of investment or market questions, this is really probably not the correct form for that. So you can probably reach out to them to understand a little bit more about how the investment works. So Jim, yes, if it's under $10,000, theoretically, you can take it all out. Can you deposit funds back if you don't end up using what you withdraw?
Yes, for sure. And those funds will be considered as voluntary.
Okay. Angie wants to know if there are any special considerations for cancer patients who will not live to the age of retirement.
So there is an option under ill health, under the pensions law, that members can make an application. So anything that's forcing someone into early retirement that their life expectancy has decreased, they can make an application to the plan.
Mm-hmm. So Denny says that when a person has multiple pension funds, the Premier said during a press conference that the withdrawal calculations would need to be applied to the aggregate amount.
That's not my understanding.
Okay, so we'll try to clarify that. We will go directly to the source and look at the proposed bill, and speak to some of the MLAs, and maybe we'll ask the Premier directly. So pension isn't CI dollars. Pay attention, guys. Yes.
I think, yeah. So our funds are in US dollars, and we convert at 0.0835.
Oh, he's saying that there's a conversion of how you do it versus what you're doing back. Okay.
Yeah.
So, right. Okay. So Hyacinth, can domestic helpers who not pay pension, and what can be done for us? So anyone can sign up for a pension fund, right? I mean, even if you're domestic, if you want to do it.
Yeah, so a domestic helper that's a non-Caymanian can, it is, not mandatory, but they can contact a pension provider to arrange a voluntary contribution account. And for domestic helpers who are Caymanian holders, should be paying pensions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm just trying to see what final questions we can sneak in here before we go. Delene, we've talked about eligibility before at the top of the program, so perhaps go back. Shanique says, is there a penalty? I don't know, a penalty for what? I'm not sure.
I think she's maybe asking, in terms of the property withdrawal, there's a repayment. So my understanding is there will not be a repayment for this. We are encouraging people to make voluntary contributions if they do decide to withdraw, but it's not a requirement.
Okay, so Juliana's asking about MoneyGram and Western Union. We talked about that earlier in the week, and I actually showed you guys a really easy way to do it online. It only cost me $2.99 US to send $500 US. A few people have since utilized it, and it has worked well for them. Folks, get online. Now is the time for you to embrace the online options that are available to you. So Sophia, if you have more than $10,000, you get the $10,000 plus 25% at the same time.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Christina, I think was.
It's based on your entire account balance.
Yeah, Christina, it's your entire, yeah. Okay, so this is this Zuzuban? I don't know what that is. It standard practice to be able to withdraw pension funds when you're trying to purchase a home? And if so, what percentage of the pension can you pull down? So that's something that's actually available for Caymanians only.
And status holders.
Yeah. And yeah, that was introduced a number of years ago. So you can contact them directly about that. Okay, I think that's it. Can you access your dormant account? So what is this? What is this about dormant accounts versus, so I guess a dormant account is an account that isn't actively being paid into, but I don't think that's one of the disqualifying components, right?
I think it depends on the meaning of that. We consider active accounts with an account balance. So
Right.
I'm not sure what she's asking, but I would definitely just continue to monitor the news and review the requirements and the eligibility listing once it's out.
Right. So Charles, the answer is no. Can I apply if I left Cayman 6 months ago? Nope. So it's from February the 1st. Anyone who left the island since then can apply. So this is not meant for just any and everybody to be able to access their pension fund. These measures are specifically being put in place because of the COVID-19 situation. Stacy, we're going to double check that, but Alice is of the opinion that you will withdraw from one. We saw Denny saying something slightly different. So we will definitely get some clarification on that point. And domestic workers, we just addressed. They can pay pension if they want. Like basically anyone can set up a pension fund and pay into it. Sophia, the process, contact your pension administrator, fill out the relevant form, provide them with the documentation that they need, and you're good to go. Yes, Kevin, are you able to withdraw the 25% if your remaining balance is greater than $10,000? Yeah, it's 25% of whatever that is, right?
Yeah, so just want to make it clear it's going to be one payment only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you need to decide up front what it is that you're doing. You can't come in now and say, okay, give me $10,000. And then 2 months later, come back and say, oh, can I get the 25% of?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's it. That's all we've got time for. Thank you guys so much. Cayman National Pension, I think you should contact them directly, and they should be able to help you out. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We had at one point over 600 persons tuned into the show this evening. We got as high as 653 people. So congrats. I'm glad that you guys really, really enjoyed the segment, and we can always tell based on the participation. So Ganu, we were talking generally about the proposed changes that are coming down with this bill in the next couple of days, and that part of it is relevant to all pension providers. So folks, just remember that Ruth says she's leaving the island on March the 5th. I would suggest you contact your provider about putting in your application form before you leave. However, it looks like all application forms will be done online in any event, so it probably doesn't matter exactly where you're at, and then they'll pay directly into your bank accounts. Are you able to pay into bank accounts overseas?
Yes, once the account is in the member's name.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. All right, sounds good. So Alice, we really appreciate Denny's giving us a definition of aggregate. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper in that. So we do have one question that you're going to hopefully follow up with, and that's in relation to public servants who have a private pension fund, whether or not they can have access to that or not.
Right.
All right. Awesome. So guys, Philip Jackson or Jokson said, thanks for all the information. Everyone found this extremely helpful. Marshall said, very helpful. Sarah, Venetia, Mario, thank you guys so much. Everybody, let us give Alice, again from Silver Thatch Pensions, a big round of applause. I want to see all of the love coming through in the comments. No more questions. If your bank account isn't active, you need to get a bank account that's active so that it can receive deposits. So contact your bank about that. So everyone, please let us give Alice a big thank you, big round of applause. We appreciate her coming on. I know this was a very anticipated segment where people could get all of their questions answered. Alice, any final words or thoughts for our viewers this evening?
Yes, again, this is just a bill. This is not the final version. Even though most parties were in agreement in principle, there might be some changes at the committee level. Just continue to monitor your plan's website, as well as the news. If you can, all of the plans are feeling the pressure. Just give us a few days. We should have more information by next week. At the moment, we don't have a list of requirements. We don't have forms available. You can email us if you would like, your account balance or a copy of your statement. And that's really it. Oh, and then finally, if you don't need to withdraw from your pension plan, please do not. Again, the Premier mentioned that the law will be in effect until the end of November. So please, if you do not need to, do not withdraw. Do not withdraw the maximum because it's available. Only withdraw what you need. This is a pension plan, not a savings. It's meant for your retirement income. Okay.
Awesome. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to do a little commercial and then our outro music. We appreciate you guys tuning in as usual. We will be here in the morning at 7:15 for a morning edition of the Cold Hard Truth, which, as you guys know, we've been doing since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, about 3 weeks now, and we've gotten wonderful response on Monday's show. We actually had over 600 persons tuned into that as well. So you guys have really been here for it. We appreciate the continued support. And of course, I am appreciative of that. And tomorrow, don't forget, we're going to have a little Friday fitness session with Ricardo, who's going to be joining us for that. So make sure that you have your exercise gear ready to go and you tune in tomorrow at 7:15, and we'll do the exercise session at the end of the show. We've got some Caymanians who are stuck in Miami who are going to be joining us in the program. So, stick around for their story tomorrow, and we'll be updating you on all the latest COVID-19 news. There was no press conference today, but there's a lot coming down the pipeline in terms of border control changes and so forth. So make sure that you stick with it. We'll see you guys in the morning.
Cayman's restaurants have always been there for you. A place to get together with friends, to celebrate, to take a first date, or grab a meal between rugby and piano practice. And even though the tables are empty, some kitchens are still full, ready to feed you and your family while keeping you safe and making your meals as delicious as ever. They were there for you, now we can be there for them. While doors might be closed, kitchens are open for delivery. Let's eat.
You don't know who I am, but I know all about you. I've come to talk to you tonight about the things I've seen you do. I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the